Ada Lovelace, Poet of Science, The First Computer Programmer, by Diane Stanley. Illustrated by Jesse Hartland. Copyright date 2016. Tracy Kreitz, EDN344. The validity of the information is done by the fact that Diane Stanley is an award-winning author. She's won 5 awards, the Boston Globe Hornbook Award twice, the Society of Children's Books Writer and Illustrators twice, and the Children's Book Guild Award for Nonfiction once. She writes in the back of the book in the author's note that because she was a woman, they didn't want to believe that she wrote it. They were trying to say that Charles Babbage really wrote the code, the program, but because of the letters that they wrote back and forth to each other, which not all of the scholars had seen, convinced them that she did, in fact, write the first computer program. Ada Lovelace is the daughter of the famous poet Lord Byron and Lady Byron. Lord Byron is a free spirit, artistic, creative, and Lady Byron was logical, mathematics, and science-based. Their marriage lasted about a year, where Lord Byron took off and traveled the world and wrote his poetry. Ada's mom, Lady Byron, tried everything she could think of to keep her from being a creative spirit like her father. So that's why Ada's creativity is more about mathematics and science than about poetry and art like her father. One of the ways she tried to stifle her creativity was she took her to the city and introduced her to society, where she found most of the people boring because all they talked about was gossip and fashion, and she had no interest in that until she went to a party at Charles Babbage's house where she met him, and he talked about a calculating machine that he built, and she found that these were her people. Even though she became fast friends with Charles Babbage, she had to still do the womanly thing. Her mom married her off to an aristocrat where she had 3 children. By the age of 24, she was raising them, but her and Charles kept in touch through letter writing. And it was through these letters that he told her that he had come up with a new machine that would digitally change symbols and operations into numbers. And he had an article written about it, but it was in French. And he wanted her to use her influence and her translation experience to translate it from French into English so that it could be published there. But he wanted her to write footnotes at the end of it, just a little bit to explain what it was all about. And she was very passionate about it. So she wrote about how it could write text and compose music and reproduce images and play games like checkers and chess. And what she wrote turned out to be 3 times as long as the original article. And she signed it with her name. The credit was her initials because she was afraid that if they knew she was a woman, she wouldn't be taken seriously. 9 months after writing the article and the footnotes, it was published. And that was very exciting for her. But it was short-lived because shortly after that she died at the age of 36, the very same age that her father died at. And she never wrote anything other than that. I think that this is very important because computers are very important in this day and age. Our phones are computers, our watches are computers, our computers are computers, our TVs are computers. Everything, we are surrounded by computers. So how interesting is it that it was many, many years ago and it was a woman that wrote the first program? And then I think it's also interesting to teach that back in the day, equality was not what it is today, and she had to put her initials for fear that nobody would read it just because she's a woman. So it's a good thing to teach about equality and how no matter what, we're all the same. We're all equal.